In projects 7.4 and 7.5, we are installing the VMware vCenter converter to our computer, and the purpose of this is to create a virtual machine that is a copy of our existing computer. The problem is computer hardware technology is changing right now, and as of today, this is December of 2012. So right now what we're seeing are new computer technologies come out, particularly with regard to disk partitioning, that are going to prevent some of you from being able to complete this exercise. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to understand whether or not your hard drive is partitioned using the master boot partition configuration, which is the old traditional way that's been for years and years, or whether or not you're using the new GUID. I'll just show you a page here. This is Microsoft's page on Windows and the GPT, which stands for the GUID partition table. You could read this about what is a GPT disk and what's wrong with MBR and why it is that hard drives and partitions are moving away from the MBR. Now, we're not going to be free of MBR partitioning for a good 10 years because people's existing computers are going to be around for that long, and it's just going to take the evolution of computer hardware technology several years until eventually all of the master boot record partitioning computers will be in dump piles, and all of the new computers are using the new GUID partitioning tables as we see here. Now, the problem is you've got to know what kind of a hard drive you have. So what you're going to need to do is to go to your control panel, and you can click here on System and Security. Scroll down until you find Administrative Tools and select the option called Computer Management and double click it. In the Computer Management screen, we have the option here for Disk Management under Storage. And here you'll see your first disk always is disk 0. Remember, we count beginning with 0 in computers. So here is your main hard drive, and you can see my main hard drive here. And then below that, I have a series of other drives. But down here at the bottom, I have another drive that I've just plugged into the computer. This is an external USB hard drive. Now what I want to show you here is that when I right-click here on disk 6 and select Properties, that I have a dialog box that comes up and it gives me the general properties of this disk. When I click Volumes, you can see here that this disk partition style is GUID. All right, you would not be able to install the VMware Virtual Center Converter on a GUID partition. So we know that this external drive on my computer has the GUID partition. Close that. I'm going to go back to my C drive, which is my primary drive, and I can click here, right-click on Properties. And when I pull up the tab for Volumes, I can see here that the master boot record, or MBR, is the format that's currently used on this computer for the master boot record. So I could install, in fact I did, in my last video tutorial I installed VMware vCenter Converter on this disk that has the MBR record, but I could not install VMware on this disk where I have the GUID partition style instead of the MBR. So what you need to do is go into your computer and find out whether or not your main drive, so this external drive is sort of out of the question, go to your main drive, find out what kind of a partition it is, if it's master boot record, or whether it's GUID. If it's GUID, then just stop. You can't go any further because you cannot use VMware on a GUID partition. If you do have master boot record, then if you have less than 50% of that hard drive free, I'll pull that up again so you can see it. Here in the Windows Explorer, I click Computer to see my C drive, and you can tell by looking at this graphic here that I certainly have less than 50% of this drive that is being used. I have more than 50% that is free. So I will be able to use this hard drive to create a disk image or an image of this hard drive into a virtual manager. I would be able to have an exact copy of my Windows 8 computer running in a virtual environment here on my actual computer. And so basically I'd have my same computer twice. And the advantage that this gives me is that I can go into the VM or to the virtual computer and do all of my work there without actually harming anything on my actual host. So make sure you study how much space you have available and then try to understand whether or not this is MBR or Master Boot Record partitioned or whether it is GUID. If it is GUID, just stop. You cannot complete that exercise.